I really didn't prepare for today's program, so I found a couple of hours. It's David Hasselhoff live in Berlin, and I've got 90 minutes of David Hasselhoff live in Munich. I'm trying to figure out which one to play for you people.
Michael Knight, a young loner on a crusade to champion.
One thing we know for sure is I love David Hasselhoff. The guy is a multi-talented person. Artist, singer, humanitarian. They're telling me I have to do a program now. No David Hasselhoff live from Dusseldorf. That's a blessing. He was a big-time rock star. I saw some Baywatch special on cable. I watched about as much of that as I was watch a Baywatch program, about 90 seconds.
Yeah, you're right.
But a lot of David Hasselhoff fame in Germany. And he worked out all the time to keep up with the young folks wearing the bathing suit, the trunks. It is a Monday. Yeah, you're right. Sunny and cool out there. I don't know if we hit 60 today. Now, I don't know if I was trying to flirt with this girl or not, but I was like, yeah, I was about to wear my little puffy jacket like you today. Instead, I just walked out with this sweater, and it's cold. That was earlier today, about 10 a.m. No, sunny and cool. Lots of 50s all week long. Lots of temperatures in the 50s all week long, so get out and enjoy it. Tonight might be a good night to drop the coals, light up the gas, throw some chicken, ribs, burgers, dogs, steaks, whatever, seafood. Get grilling tonight. No, it's that kind of weather. You can enjoy the outside, especially like actually proactively grilling where you have to, quote, man the grill, not this new modern grilling where you lower the top on your green egg and go sit inside. I control the temperature on my phone. It's wood pellets. I'm letting in 7 more wood pellets. That'll give us time to drink another brewski in the backyard. You folks that do the regular grilling, like, gotta flip that ribeye. It's flaming up. Top, no top. Grilling proactively. Cooking stuff in a few minutes. People walking by with plates and buns, ready for that hot burger off the grill, that type of thing. Man, in the summer, you're just sweating through your shirt, probably sweating on the food. It's a pretty bad situation. But with this cool, comfortable weather, it's a lot easier too. One thing I've always noticed about grilling and having people over for a party, you cannot do both. If you grill and party, the food sucks. You ruin the food. And if you party, you're not going to have any food. And if you just grill, you don't get to party. It's just how it is. You can't do both. You can have the casual beer or drink while grilling, but if you start getting hammered and you're acting like everybody else, oh yeah, forgot to flip the steaks 30 minutes ago. It just doesn't work too well. Can't grill and party at the same time. Hey, Oliver Thomas is going to join us on the program tomorrow on Tuesday. Councilman Oliver Thomas. Got a lot to discuss. Top story of the day, clearly. Look, I get these stories that I pick out. They just pop out at me. I go to different sources. I see something that I'm like, that's a good topic. That's an interesting story. There are a bunch of them out there today. New York taking down Thomas Jefferson statue, the shortcomings of Bridge City, the Fairfield development, the drone attack in Jordan. No kidding there. That's a serious topic. I shouldn't even brought that up in this salvo. Super Bowl 58, Gert Town's own Garrett Morris, or the Buc-ee's opening on I-10. I'm going with the Buc-ee's on I-10. It's important. The Beavers coming to I-10. So many people are fired up about the Buc-ee's. So many people, exactly. So many people love the Buc-ee's. Hey, don't roll your eyes while driving. That's dangerous. I know you agree with me, but you're rolling your eyes at the Buc-ee's. You can slam into someone in front of you. No, the Buc-ee's is coming a little earlier in September. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the program because it's basically irrelevant. But all kidding aside, Like the Buc-ee's is coming this September. The only reason I am going to bring it up is because I don't think Six Flags is going to look a whole hell of a lot different come this September than it looks right now. Because it's not Buc-ee's doing it. You know, Buc-ee's like, we're building a Buc-ee's. They're building a Buc-ee's. In New Orleans, it's like, hey, we're going to redo the World Trade Center. Okay, Mark Morial, why are all your friends and pals involved? And why are there like 50 of your cronies putting up money? I think there was like a Dillard coach or Xavier coach put up like 40 grand and was expecting 400 grand back. That was the World Trade Center proposal under Mark Morial. Then it was under, Sidney Bartholomew and Ray Nagin and Mitch Landrieu. On and on and on. Finally, years later, decades later, we get the World Trade Center redeveloped into the Four Seasons. But I think the Six Flags site's going to be kind of like that in Mississippi. Different ball of wax. They just, no BS. Buc-ee's? Hell yeah. We'll bend over for your Buc-ee's. Built a new bridge at the Menge exit over I-10. That's tens of millions of dollars. Widening the I-10, tens of millions of dollars for Bucky the Beaver to come to town, which is basically a glorified Circle K. It's basically a Home Depot or a Walmart size store. Just cut off the back end. Same width. Just cut it in half like it doesn't go as far back. And that's a Buc-ee's. So it's like, I don't know, 15 or 20 Circle K's connected together. 10 of those, what is it, Fast Track or Raceway, whatever that's called. The Raceway gas station. It's like 10 of those connected together, literally. It might be, I'm not exaggerating, 100 gas pumps. A lot of you folks are like, Kaare, it's 108 gas pumps. I've been to every Buc-ee's in the Southeast. Love my Buc-ee's. I know some of you know Buc-ee's like crazy. It's part of the drive. If you have children, you're pulling over and getting gas. Why wouldn't you go to the Buc-ee's? Because mom and dad don't want to go in the Buc-ee's for 45 minutes. 19,000 different beef jerkies. Brisket off the board. They got all kind of gimmicks at Buc-ee's. No, it's just what I was saying. The Six Flags deal. I was like, they're not going to break ground within a year. They were still working on the deal a year later. Now it's the Buc-ee's, and then back then I was like, Buc-ee's will be up and running before they break ground on the Six Flags. And it looks like that's happening September of this year. Yeah, crazy. This kind of stuff I don't understand. It's just like self-destructive, hurting yourself. New York City Hall removed the statue of Thomas Jefferson. I just don't get it. It's been there, by the way, and this doesn't mean you don't get rid of it, but you shouldn't get rid of it. We'll talk about that, but it's been there since 1837 or 187 years. Participated in systemic crimes against indigenous people or other crimes against humanity. Thomas Jefferson. And then, wrote the Constitution. That thing too. Wrote the U.S. Constitution. Forgot about that one. Presentism. This is me. I know a little bit about Malcolm X. Not going to sit here and say I've studied Malcolm X. I'm a scholar of Malcolm X, but I know a little bit about Malcolm X, probably more than the average person, black or white, about Malcolm X. I like Malcolm X. I think Malcolm X is an intriguing figure. But Malcolm X, you could break down his life into multiple chapters, like when he was a kid, when he was a comedian, when he was a criminal, when he was dealing drugs and was on drugs, when he went to jail, when he turned to the Nation of Islam, when he ran from the Nation of Islam. We can go on and on. There's lots of different Malcolm X's, but the at the end where, he was this super righteous person, the last chapter of what we know Malcolm X, or chapters, post-Mecca trip, if you want to call it that. That's the Malcolm X I didn't think about. I don't judge him on when he was a criminal and some of the stuff he did earlier in life. That's when Malcolm X was younger and foolish and didn't know what was up. It's just this presentism, this today's judgment on yesterday's people. I mean, no one's safe. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., adulterer, he's like, he's out. He's out. Corey Johnson with you on a Monday afternoon. Don't move, New Orleans.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Did you know Rouse's sells only Angus beef? Angus beef's natural marbling means more succulence and flavor. Whether you choose Rouse's USDA Prime, Choice, or Select, it'll be only Angus beef when you get it at Rouse's. Tastes like home.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" And he said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool, New Orleans. NOLAAC.com is your cool spot.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes on magazine, as unique as you.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
The French bread of the city of New Orleans. Good to the last crumb. Leidenheimer French bread.
Francesca Deli and Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a big 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Yeah, you right, Crescent City and beyond. Have you been to a Rouse's lately? You might just be going in to grab a few quick items. You might be going in and filling up a cart or two. Boy, Rouse's has that scent, that smell of Mardi Gras. It's that decades old dough, cinnamon dough, Mardi Gras king cake recipe that they use at Rouse's. Probably 40, 50 years old, that cinnamon dough. And the last decade or so, they've added so many cream-filled flavors, like over 20. I'm old school. I like the plain Jane, original cinnamon dough with the icing. That's it. Rouse's sells by the slice, too. Nobody sells more king cakes in the world than Rouse's Markets, period, end of story. It's like crawfish. No one sells more boiled crawfish. No one sells more live by the sack crawfish when it comes to crawfish season. And when it's Mardi Gras and king cakes, nobody sells more than Rouse's. Fantastic king cake, by the way. You think I would push a Rouse's king cake if I don't eat it, if I don't like it? And they'll ship that Rouse's king cake to your friends and family anywhere around the country. Rouse's Markets, best quality, best price, best selection. Your local Rouse's, they're baking those king cakes fresh in each and every store. Smells like Mardi Gras. Smells like king cakes at your Rouse's Markets. Ship them anywhere, rouses.com. Friends and family living out of state, getting a package, and it's overnight from Rouse's, and it's a king cake. Wow. Sunny and cool, 50s all week. Yeah, New York removing the statue of Thomas Jefferson. I said the father of the Constitution. That's true, the father of Constitution, along with folks like James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin. The author of the Declaration of Independence, that Thomas Jefferson. Monticello, Charlottesville, University of Virginia, that Thomas Jefferson. What was it? George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. Oh, yeah, third president of the United States of America. New York City Hall removing the statue of Thomas Jefferson. To me, that's as crazy as this Jackie Robinson statue, where some losers in the middle of the night came in and buzzed it at the ankles. The Jackie Robinson statue now is like a monument with his two shoes and his ankles, and it's just cut off. Someone took off with the statue. I think it's almost like that type of criminal behavior in a way. When you're removing Thomas Jefferson, and I'm not I love Thomas Jefferson. You come to my house, Thomas Jefferson lampshades, Thomas Jefferson telephone. I've got a Thomas Jefferson blanket over my bed. I've got the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution framed on my wall. And none of that. None of that. I'm not like some love Thomas Jefferson. If you're asking me, I think most just slightly educated Americans about like top 5 Americans, top 5 most influential Americans, why we are where we are today, the 5 most influential, it would probably be George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That would probably be your top 5 in chronological order. The first few are like right on top of each other. Coexisted. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I just don't get New York City removing the statue of Thomas Jefferson. Rouse's Markets phone lines 504-766-9480. 504-766-9480. I hate the slave topic, not because I'm scared to talk about it, because slavery is awful. It's terrible. There's no excuse for it. But what I might say could easily get misinterpreted. No slavery is good. But if Thomas Jefferson was just known as some sick slave driver, like it's known he got off beating slaves, treating slaves insanely inhumanely. More inhumanely is just the premise of being a slave. Enjoyed beating them, was relentless, raped multiple slaves, killed others, was just the worst of the worst, like out of a Quentin Tarantino movie, the worst of the worst. Then maybe there'd be some traction and you'd be like, wow, yeah, Thomas Jefferson was a flat out evil, vindictive, mean-spirited man. But if Thomas Jefferson happened to have slaves during that era, anyone with wherewithal had slaves in that era. Free black men with wherewithal had slaves in that era. And most folks did not have slaves because you had to have wherewithal. You had to have money. You had to be somebody. You had to. It's almost like owning a business in today's world. Most of us just go to work. Don't have 20 employees or 50 employees or hundreds of employees. You could almost use that example today and make it into slaves instead of employees. No, I work for somebody. Okay, so you don't own slaves, black or white. But you could say like, oh, the person you work for, the company you work for, they own slaves because they're big time. There wasn't like everybody owned slave. Like 90+% of the population did not own slaves. That's another thing. Like slavery in America should be really broken down, should be taught. You probably have to go to the basic vanilla level of like a mini series or movie or TV or something just to really break it down exactly like it was. It was ugly. There's no way to justify it. I'm not trying to do anything like that, but there are obviously different levels of it. And somebody that was slave dealer, slave trader, got off on it, was a sick individual. You know, those are easy targets. People that own slaves, you'd have to do a little bit deeper dive into, how they treated those slaves. What was the situation? Because they're free black men that own slaves. And again, it was the minority of people, a small percentage that owned slaves, had to have money, had to have wherewithal. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson apparently was in love with Sally Hemings. Sally Hemings apparently was in love with Thomas Jefferson. They had a few children together. Thomas Jefferson apparently loved Sally Hemings, a slave, more than he loved his wife. I mean, there are lots of stories on Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings and descendants and all of that. There's some people that don't deserve any credit or praise that own slave, didn't own slaves. We falsely, Judge Perez in Chalmette, that Judge Perez Drive. It's still Judge Perez Drive, but it's for a different Judge Perez, like the cousin of Leander, because Leander was a criminal. So instead of changing the name, it's like, oh, it's not named after Leander anymore. It's named after Ernest or something like that. Seriously. So that's fine. That's fine. Hilario Center on the West Bank, maybe one day you change the name on that because kind of a criminal, deviant, out for himself, friends and family, doesn't deserve his dad's name on the building, maybe did do criminal stuff if you take a deeper dive into John Hilario. So maybe his name gets removed off in the future. Though that's fine. That's fine. Jeff Davis, Robert E. Lee, Confederate statues, that's fine. But George Washington or Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, like his father owned slaves in Kentucky. Abraham Lincoln may have owned a slave. Abraham Lincoln's probably the number one mover on planet Earth, single human being you could point to that had the most to do, the most influence of eradicating slavery, which still exists today, by the way. New York City Hall removing a statue of Thomas Jefferson. Love to get your take. That's what's great about this program. We don't screen calls. Agree with me, disagree with me wholeheartedly. We'll take your call and we won't cut you off because we disagree. 504-766-9480. Maybe it's because I'm a talk radio host, but if I heard someone go off like I just did and I agreed, or most importantly, if I disagreed, I'd be calling in on that cat. 766-9480. Rouse's Markets phone lines, 766-9480. Times-Picayune article, some big land purchase, like 50 acres near Bridge City, which no one calls Fairfield, which is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy on, the $1 billion UEP Long Bridge expansion. The last, kind of developed land in Jefferson Parish is right there on the west bank of the UEP. I mean, you're in Elmwood and it's like you're in Manhattan. You cross the UEP Long Bridge and you're in the country. I mean, just poof, just like that, right over that bridge. Elmwood congestion, Bridge City, hey, where are you going? There's duck hunting blind right there. I mean, you're like in the country in 30 seconds. No explosive growth. No, the answer is easy. I mentioned John Alario, his lack of leadership, his lack of vision, just, doping around out for himself for 50 years as an elected official instead of doing his job, which he's just incapable of doing. And this is a prime example. This is like you had a great party and John Alario just walked in with a kitty litter box under his arm and he just dumped all the cat poop in the punch bowl and expects the party to be good. Expects the party to be good now. Corey Johnson with you. I'll explain next.
Look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralox, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralox technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralox is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
1970 was an exciting time in New Orleans. The first Jazz Fest was held, the city hosted its first Super Bowl, and the first Helm Paint location opened on Earhart Boulevard. While the floppy disks, mood rings, and pet rocks may have come and gone since the 70s, Helm Paint has grown to become your premier source for quality Benjamin Moore products, competitive pricing, and personal service. Please visit one of our locations today and we'll meet our competitors' prices on any identical product. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, let us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
When USA Today ranked the 10 best must-visit New Orleans restaurants for travelers, Mid-City's own Katie's made the list. USA Today says Scott Craig is chef-owner at Katie's, a much-loved Creole Italian eatery that draws armies of regulars for lunch, brunch, and dinner. A neighborhood spot where locals congregate and New Orleans-style hospitality rules. Indeed it does. Katie's in Mid-City.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex is something called Quick Lane. Tires, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We do in all makes and models. It doesn't have to have been purchased from us. It's for you. It handles your lifestyle with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane, you got to come see it. You're going to love the experience right there at Williams Boulevard in Kenner.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations, New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
Outdoor dining, Middle Eastern cuisine, under the oak trees, Lebanon's Cafe, some of the city's finest lamb chops and shish kebab, Carrollton at Jeanette by the streetcar barn, Lebanon's Cafe. For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Hey, the 4 o'clock hour on this Monday brought to you by legendary Leidenheimer Baking Company. Leidenheimer Bakery in the heart of New Orleans, baking that Leidenheimer French bread that we all love, the po' boy bread of New Orleans, period, end of story. It's got to be Leidenheimer. It's not a real, authentic New Orleans po' boy. Am I right? Finest restaurants on the city. You get that piping hot Leidenheimer French bread. Might be in that little bag. Might be wrapped in a napkin, a cloth napkin. Room temperature butter, piping hot Leidenheimer French bread. My goodness. Can knock out a lot of that. Good to the last crumb. Over 125 years into their 3rd century. Baking that French bread you love since 1896. The official French bread of New Orleans, Leidenheimer French bread. Leidenheimer Baking Company, 4 o'clock hour, brought to you by Leidenheimer Baking Company of New Orleans. Monday afternoon. Yeah, Times-Picayune article talking about a land purchase, about 50 acres in that Bridge City area. I mean, first off, that area, they're like, Bridge City's kind of harsh. Like Airline Highway, we're going to call it Airline Drive. Like the Industrial Canal, we're going to call it the Industrial Waterway. Instead of Bridge City, we're going to call it Fairfield. Fairfield. Now, what's great is it was Fairfield Plantation out there. And then they're like, maybe we don't call it Fairfield Plantation. Like the TPC golf course was originally the TPC of Fairfield Plantation. And then like, can't have plantation in the name. So then it became like the TPC of Fairfield. Now it's like the TPC of Avondale. Anyway, no one calls Bridge City Fairfield. And there's a single reason that is definitely contributing to this failure. Now, the article in the Times-Picayune was kind of humorous. We envisioned about 50,000 people living there. We envisioned another 100,000 working there. So just explosive booming growth over the UEP Long Bridge. And I think we would have seen not those numbers, but numbers that would have been noticeable, like an area growing, booming in Metro New Orleans over the UEP Long Bridge after a billion with a B, $1 billion expansion. The UEP narrow became the UEP nice and wide. They were talking about residential, civic, commercial, office, educational, light manufacturing, all in one spot. None of it's happened. You got the TPC golf course, which was supposed to be sort of like the anchor of the area. And then John Hilario, because it's so sad. He just lacks, it's like kindergarten, lacks the most simple, leadership skills. Laney Schwest, multimillionaire, shipbuilder, very successful, getting up in age, has a lot of money, wants to build a racetrack, like $40-50 million racetrack, bring Formula One racing to New Orleans, maybe even more. Most of these racetracks in Dallas, Atlanta, they're like 45 minutes, maybe like even an hour outside of the city, but a good 45 minutes. They're not in the suburbs. They're in the exurbs. They're far away. Laney Sweat's like, I got this track of land. It's only 30 minutes from the Dome. It's like next door to where they play the golf tournament. You know, the golf tournaments, PGA Tour, if this is close enough to the city for them, the track might work. I want to build this track on this land. John Alario green lights it. Like, to John Alario, it's like, yeah, private individual, own money, wants to build something. I'm all for it. Let me help this guy. Instead of said, whoa, Laney, that track's going to make a lot of noise. And no one's going to want to live near that. No one's going to want to work near that. Why don't we go like 10 minutes up 90, past Mosca's, by Fred Hebe and Butch Ward, those criminals with the dump that got off with their crimes, that, you know, buried Jim Letton in that viable FBI office with lawyer Billy Gibbons helping him out. That Fred Hebe, his dump, River Birch, all that political nonsense, right next door to the Jefferson Parish dump. These are natural buffer zones now for a racetrack. You put trees up, no one's going to know the dumps are even there. They're out of sight, out of mind. But that's where the track would be. And way out by the garbage dump, there's probably tracks around the country that are out by municipalities sort of rear end, the garbage dumps, the water plant, things like that. Out by the airport, things like that, where it's already noisy. Instead, you have this planned development of residential, civic, commercial, office, educational, light manufacturing, because you don't want lots of noise because it's going to be a neighborhood and offices. So you bring in a racetrack? You bring in a race. Have you ever been by the TPC in Avondale? There's not a lot out there to begin with, probably not a lot to bring you out there. It is noisy. That's all you hear. Let me put it to this way. No one on Jefferson Highway is complaining. But on a Saturday by Oshner, you're at one of those red lights by Oshner Hospital, especially by like maybe, what is that street? We were talking about the other day, Joe, with the Deck Bar, where it goes from Jefferson Highway straight through the river to the levee. It's like you're at that light on a Saturday, roll down the windows of your car. You can hear the racetrack. It's a few miles away, and you can hear. No, I'm not saying where you're like, oh my God, I went to that CVS pharmacy across from Oshner, Deck Bar and Jefferson Highway, and the noise at the Avondale racetrack was deafening. No, it's not at all. My point is, you can physically hear it though. Like, I was like, what's that noise? I'm like, oh, that's the track by the TPC. Now I play the TPC golf course. It just ruins the experience. It's a golf course that's not built like by a neighborhood. So you're in like a wildlife refuge. You're in this swampy, marshy area. No houses, nothing but you and nature. And that's all you hear. It's right there. It's noisy as hell. They used to not run for 4 days during the golf tournament. Now they're like, the hell with it. We're going to run during the golf tournament. You can hear it on TV. You can hear it when you're at the golf tournament. I mean, cypress trees, just Mother Nature, and then a car track. So no, that's it in a nutshell. End of story. There's no way around it. It is the biggest blunder mistake. No one writes about it locally. I mean, John Alario has like a wing at the Capitol named after him. Alario Center named after his do-nothing, just painfully average father. He was a great coach for Westbank kids. No, he wasn't. He was a nobody. The dad's a criminal deviant, but the dad's dad is just a nobody. Johnny Westbank, Joe Westbank. Don't name it after, Joe Westbank's kid that went to Iraq, Iran, and sacrificed his life for us. Don't name it after, some corporal, lieutenant, private, whatever, some kid from Avondale or Westwego that died for us. Name it after John Alario's painfully average dad. It's a joke. It's pathetic, typical Louisiana politics. And this joker for 50 years, besides enriching himself and setting himself up, he butchered what could have been a multi-billion-dollar community that will never be now, because no one wants to live near a race car track and listen to that crap all day. Might as well live on I-10. Hey, we're going to build a neighborhood right at the I-10. You walk out of your front door, you pick up your paper, 20 feet in front of you is I-10 on the other side of a chain link fence. Cars just buzzing by at 70. Might as well live there. No one's going to locate their business there. Nothing. Wreck the golf course, making it a serene, nice getaway. Could have had Laney Schwest, and he would have been all over it. No problem, John. Good move. Got some land right up Highway 90. 5 minutes up the road, 10, 15 minutes up the road. 5 miles up the road, 7 miles up the road. Go build it up there. We want your track, Laney. Laney Schwest did nothing wrong. John Alario did a lot wrong. No leadership skills, no foresight, just no wide vision. He's just a average guy. No one special. Painfully average. Worse, he's kind of deviant and, the painfully average guy that I'm going to set up my friends and family. 45, 50 years as a politician and just butchered the biggest thing that he could have been his legacy. And he wrecked it. He ran a wrecking ball right through the middle of it. Let me put a noisy racetrack in the middle, the first step of what is supposed to be many, many, many things making up an entirely new community. After $1 billion redo of the UEP Long Bridge, he butchered it all. Go drive across there, Bridge City, Fairfield. It's no different than it's ever been. There's no new development. There's no new nothing over there. Nothing by the TPC. That golf course has been there nearly 20 years. How'd you like to be that big landowner over there? He gave like thousands of acres away. So the thousands of acres he kept, he figured it would get developed, be worth more. He's exactly where he was 20, 30 years ago with half the land because he gave it away. Nothing's being done on it because of a noisy racetrack. Because John Alario didn't have vision or foresight to see this simple kindergarten thing in front of him. I mean, it's like a child could see it. And it's ruined. It's wrecked. There's no fixing. Fixing it is abandoning the track. And that's not happening. It's $60 million and growing. All he does is add more money to the track. Corey Johnson with you on a Monday.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof. Now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
For over 120 years, New Orleans' very own Leidenheimer French bread.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa, and now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
Being a part of people's lives, from an engagement ring to a wedding band. Before you know it, the wedding day is here and groom and bride are exchanging gifts on that day. And not too long after that, there's baby gifts to have. And I just enjoy being part of other people's family, saying, Mr. Friend did my engagement ring and he did my mom and dad's engagement ring. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
What actually lasts a lifetime? Not much, but at Helm Paint, we have something guaranteed to last a lifetime. Benjamin Moore's Regal Select. This paint and primer in one offers cutting-edge waterborne technology, smooth application, and long durability. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, your New Orleans paint store.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets has daily lunch specials Monday through Friday, and their entire lunch menu is available too. Open 11 a.m. through 2:30 p.m. For the finest in Sicilian and Italian cuisine, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Rouse's Markets phone lines 766-9480. Rouse's Markets phone line 766-9480. Crazy New York City Hall removing the statue of Thomas Jefferson. Participated in systemic crimes against indigenous people or other crimes against humanity. Yeah, that Thomas Jefferson, 3rd president of the United States. You know, the co-author of the Constitution, the author of the Declaration of Independence. That Thomas Jefferson. I mean, this hyper woke, super insane, loony left presentism is crazy. Holding people from yesteryear to today's standards. I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an adulterer, slept with white women, black women. It kind of had a problem. I don't even think about that at all, ever. I just think of the greatness that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all he did. John F. Kennedy Jr. John F. Kennedy was a big-time philanderer, just bringing in college girls to the White House. I mean, they're all kind of crazy stories with, I don't think about John Kennedy that way. I'm not in denial about it, or Bill Clinton, but there's a lot, I guess, bigger fish to fry than that kind of thing. When I'm thinking of the greatness of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., dude, he kind of cheated on his wife sometimes. Really? You're even bringing that up? Seriously? It's like, we're talking about the greatness of the man, the incredible time, and the perfect person, mentally, spiritually, temperament-wise, to handle black, white, the whole deal, Dr. Martin Luther King. So I'm going to worry about some crap you're going to bring up. Thomas Jefferson owning slaves. I'm not trying to downplay that. Like, that's some crap you're going to bring up. Sally Hemings, all of that. Thomas Jefferson was in love with Sally Hemings. Sally Hemings was in love with Thomas Jefferson. Sally Hemings was a slave. There's no way to change that. There's no way to say if Sally Hemings was a free person, would she be in love with Thomas Jefferson? I don't know. But it was a different time period with different standards. A lot of people were pretty barbaric and, rough and not to today's standards, the way people lived back then. So, no, I think it's crazy. New York City, the City Hall building removes a statue of Thomas Jefferson that's been around 187 years. I think that's absolutely nuts. The third president of the United States, the author of the Declaration of Independence, co-author of the Constitution, one of our founding fathers of this country. Yeah, I think it's insane that it's just loony left, going off the wheels. Nothing good's going to come of this. It's never going to be accepted as right. It's not like the Confederate statues, and it's only going to set back liberals and Democrats running for elected office that are moderates and regular liberals and Democrats. That's all it's going to do. Republicans are great at making like progressive, woke, liberal, like bad words. And Democrats are like punching bags. They like getting beat up. This just perpetuates it, exacerbates. You're throwing gas on the fire. Remove Abraham Lincoln or Thomas Jefferson or George Washington's name from the public building because of slavery or something like that. Just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You better watch what you say, because where is that line of demarcation? Who else does it apply to? Is it just slavery, or is it other things that are unsavory? Times-Picayune had an article on Bridge City, its shortcomings. Envision 50,000 people living there, another 100,000 working there. Complements of residential, civic, commercial, office, educational, and light manufacturing. Instead, John Alario with no leadership skills, no foresight, bad location for a racetrack, super noisy, equals no Fairfield development. No one wants to drive piles for a business or a house or anything. The only thing you have out there are things Jefferson could have built anywhere, like the Patrick Taylor Science School. Could have built it somewhere else. They built it there because they got the land next to the noisy racetrack. It's mind-blowing. Seriously, it is, mixing up the punch. Everybody's looking forward to the punch at the dance. And John Alario dropped kitty poop in it. No one wants to drink the punch. He wrecked the party. And that's not like an opinion. That's just reality. The more you think about it, the more sickening it is, and the more mind-blowing it is how this adult man in politics for 40-something years didn't foresee this. Well, we're trying to develop a neighborhood, a community, businesses, people living there, 50,000 people living there, 100,000 working there. And I'm going to put a noisy car racetrack in the middle of it. Show me an example where this exists anywhere in the United States of America. These tracks are 45 minutes, an hour outside the city, in an area with like a buffer zone around it because they're noisy. And this isn't like a NASCAR oval, which isn't quite as noisy. This is a Formula One, lots of curves, amateur drivers out there just having fun in their own car, renting a car, and lots of tires screeching and braking and all of that. A very noisy track. What's that, Blue Boy? You barking incessantly is much more pleasant than the noisy racetrack that was built in the wrong spot that wrecked this multi-billion-dollar vision. John Alario's an idiot? Jeez, I'm Blue Boy. That's harsh. 5 o'clock powwow
on
now.
The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson. On TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333.
Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 5 p.m.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson.
Susan Spicer joining us on the program.
Even when they presented me the award, the people that I look up to the most, Frank was there and Donald Link was there. It does cause you to reflect back and think about your whole career.
Maybe the Stella Brennan Award says that to you, like I've arrived.
It certainly is kind of the ultimate honor when it comes to cooking and hospitality in New Orleans and the world.
New Orleans style talk gumbo, served daily.
Doesn't get much better than that, huh?
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand. And we'll save your colors so you don't have to save those old cans. Helm Paint offers free 2-hour delivery. Our in-store decorators will assist you on deciding what color and type of paint to best showcase your home. But most importantly, as your local independent Benjamin Moore dealer, our products provide the greatest value in the paint industry. Superior coverage, and Benjamin Moore paint simply covers better and lasts longer. New Orleans is a city of vibrant color, and no one else provides the paints of New Orleans like Helm Paint and Decorating. Visit any of our 6 locations or online at helmpaint.com.
Helm Paint, let us do you right. Helm Paint and Supply.
Ford F-150, #1 seller in America. What about in the USA? Let's see, what about in the world? Who sells more trucks than Ford? Nobody. It's because the Lamarck team is the real team. All that makes it happen is one goal. Everybody having a great experience at Lamarck Ford. We became #1 for a reason, because we're good. And we need to prove it every day, every deal, all the time.
Ooh la Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh la Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family owned and operated, Leidenheimer French bread.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Space,
the final frontier.
Only 3 years of the original Star Trek, and then it was canceled.
Enterprise.
But boy, James T.
Its
Kirk
5-year
gave his
mission
all in
to
every
explore
episode.
strange
He
new
embraced it.
To seek out new life.
Very
and new
melodramatic actor, though, huh?
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
You really have to act. Okay, the ship's shaking, grab the railing and bounce around. This noise is just hurting your head, putting your hands on your head like you're in pain. There's number 9, Mr. Drew Brees, giving us that intro like he does each and every weekday afternoon. Yeah, you right, Corey Johnson with you. 5 o'clock power hour coming your way, New Orleans. Thanks for checking us out, your drive time home. Old school, doing it on the radio. Yeah, you remember that thing? Of course you do. Oh, so fine. 93.9 FM. Hey, we're on television till 5:30 at least. Radio till 6 o'clock. TV 4 to 5:30 every weekday. Cox Channel 4 statewide. Cox Channel 4 television statewide 4 to 5:30 weekdays. You charter television subscribers, aka Spectrum. Spectrum Channel 333. Spectrum Channel 333. Weekday afternoons 4 to 5:30. 90 minutes of fun on TV. Hey, like radio, live streaming 2 big hours, CoreyTalks.com. Corey spelled Kaare, CoreyTalks.com. We're on YouTube right now, 2 big hours live every day. You can check out yesterday's show, last week, last month's show, whatever you like. The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson on YouTube. Go to YouTube, go to the search bar, put in The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson. Corey spelled Kaare. Click to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything. Send the link to a friend. Lots of ways to check out the program. Sunny and cool. Lots of 50s all week long. I don't think we hit 60 today. Margaret Orr will probably come on in like 15 minutes. 61 in Belle Chase. I don't think we hit 60 in the metro. Lots of 50s. It'll be that way all week long. Hey, tomorrow on the program, Oliver Thomas, New Orleans City Councilman Oliver Thomas will join us on the show. We'll probably do a little talking about the East. I text something to Oliver today after he's like, yeah, I'll come on the show. We'll do it tomorrow. After I had all that lined up, I was like, you've got, I'm nothing against Goodwill or whatever it is, United Way. I think it's, what is it, Goodwill or Salvation Army? I think it's Goodwill store. I want to say Goodwill. It might be United Way. They're taking over that Lowe's. They purchased the Lowe's store on I-10 by the plaza in the East. Now, if you know the East just a little bit, off of Bullard, another exit down off of Bullard is an old Schwegmans, and it's sort of a modern Schwegmans. It's kind of a nice building. It's red brick archways going the whole way down. The building must be 150 yards wide. It's gigantic. I would say it's very similar square footage to the Lowe's. 150, 180,000 square foot store. It's slightly off the beaten path. I mean, the Lowe's is on I-10. It's a visual thing. You can see it right there on I-10. You know, I don't know how many cars pass by there every day. 50, 60, 80,000, maybe more. The Schwegmans off Bullard is, you know, a quarter of a mile off the exit. And then it's about about an eighth of a mile off of Bullard, sort of in the back of what was going to be like or what was a little shopping center. I think there was a Best Buy maybe, or Circuit City back then, and the Schwegman store and a few other things. Now it's like, nail and beauty store and just crap back there, basically. But you still have this empty Schwegmans that's about the same size as the Lowe's, maybe a little older, but it's just a big block building just like the Lowe's and abandoned like the Lowe's. That would be the perfect Salvation Army or whatever it's going to be, Goodwill store, because people that go to Goodwill or Salvation Army, they're looking for that store. It doesn't need to be in the prime location on the interstate. Like, wow, there's a so-and-so. Let's go there. They're going to seek out the Salvation Army store. It's used stuff. It's at a good price. It's for a certain demographic. I have the ultimate doggy bed from the Salvation Army store or the Goodwill store, whatever, on Jefferson Highway. It's a leather ottoman from like someone's chair or sofa. I'm like, this is nice leather. It's in really good shape. It was $50. A dog bed's like $100. It's Chinese crap. It's chewed up. Nice leather, gushy. It's jacked up. I use it so Blue Boy, the basset, could jump from the floor to there and get up on the bed with me. And Totally uses it now just like a big cushy dog bed. So that's great. I went and seeked out the used furniture store, Wanted something for my dogs that they could chew up. Boy, this leather, it's like still brand new. They can't even, not even a scratch on it. It's tough. Best purchase I ever made for $50. Now, IKEA, we've already discussed IKEA. IKEA needs 2 million people within 60 miles of their store. And an IKEA at that Lowe's site, there aren't 2 million people within 60 miles. But an IKEA in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, there are 2 million people within 60 miles. And that's probably where an IKEA is going to be built in 2024. Gonzales, Sorrento, Laplace, somewhere in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, where you have Houma, Thibodeau to the south, you have Hammond to the north, you have 800,000 in the metro Baton Rouge to your west, you got 1.2 million to your east in New Orleans in the metro. So you got 2 million plus within 60 miles. If you're west of New Orleans, you don't have 2 million plus east of New Orleans. So and that's like an IKEA thing. So they're not coming there. I would have pursued them. I doubt New Orleans did. But something like an IKEA would be a regional get where white people from Metairie, Kenner, the North Shore would drive to New Orleans East, get off at the Reed exit to go to the IKEA. There'd be people from Gulfport and Biloxi, maybe as far as Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette, coming to the IKEA in New Orleans East. It's what it does. It attracts people from the region. And the closest ones we got, Texas and Florida. So I think an IKEA is coming, but it's going to be west of New Orleans, not in New Orleans East. But that's the thinking they need for that Lowe's location. It's prime. It's on the interstate. You need to get something that's going to generate, millions in tax dollars, tens of millions, $100 million in revenue. Not a Salvation Army store that's going to do a few $1 million in revenue and tens of thousands of dollars, $100,000 in tax revenue or something just lame. And I'm not knocking the Salvation Army or the Goodwill store. They should be, like I said, like at that Schwegman's off Bullard. That's where political leaders come in and go, guys, you don't need the interstate front. This store works better. This is a better location for what you guys do. Helps out everybody. But that we don't have that. I'll talk to Oliver Thomas about that, stepping up and doing that. Talk about Lincoln Beach, 25 mil. Is that going to actually get going? Mackey Studios, nothing going on there. Six Flags, not a shovel in the ground. Nothing going on there. Not a ride torn down. Nothing. Not a building demolished. Not a bulldozer on site. Nothing going on there. Oliver Thomas tomorrow. Hey, the Rouse's Markets phone lines are open, 766-9480. I'd love to hear from you on these two topics. 766-9480. New York City Hall removed a statue, the statue of Thomas Jefferson, in front of that City Hall for 187 years, since 1837. Participated in systemic crimes against indigenous people or other crimes against humanity. Thomas Jefferson, you know, the author of the Declaration of Independence, the co-author of the Constitution, the third president, that Thomas Jefferson. This hyper woke, loony, liberal stuff is just ridiculous. Like 90% of America thinks it's crazy. How did they get that done? Times-Picayune about a land sale in Bridge City, talking about the shortcomings of Fairfield, Bridge City, why it hasn't taken off. I'll tell you why, because John Ilario allowed Laney Schwest to build a noisy, loud racetrack in what was going to be the middle of the development. So who wants to live or work by that noise? The answer, no one. That's John Ilario for you. No leadership skills, no foresight. How did he miss that one? That's kindergarten stuff. Corey Johnson with you.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store, and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" He said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Served in New Orleans' finest restaurants, Leidenheimer French bread. There's a Middle Eastern restaurant that's less than 5 minutes from where Causeway and River Road meet, Lebanon's Cafe. Convenient to Old Metairie and Old Jefferson. Carrollton at Jeanette on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore led us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miet, insagency.com. Dave Miet Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miet, insagency.com.
In New Orleans, we don't eat to live. We live to eat.
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. More is better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Not just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love. More. When you do something, you have to do it right. You know, it's all about more, and it's called more of the good things.
Get more at Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City.
Every day, this program brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex in Kennebra, home of Lamarck Ford, the big store for over 45 years. Number one Ford dealership in the region. Ronnie Lamarck from Araby Park. Price, inventory, service. That's what the big store's been about for 45 plus years. Lamarck Lincoln, within a few short years, number one Lincoln dealership in Louisiana. Just mind-blowing, man. This guy's just Midas. Now Ronnie Jr. involved. So it's the dynamic duo. Ronnie Lamarck, 70-something. I think you just reciprocate. It's not 73, it's 37. And then his son, they just don't stop. You would think after investing, and I'm not kidding, $50+ million, $50+ million in the car corner of Williams Boulevard and I-10 in Kenner, right on the corner, right on the price, the Lamarck Automotive Complex, all brand new, all state-of-the-art, Ford, Lincoln, pre-owned, service, collision repairs, parts, all brand new, all state-of-the-art, over $50 million, all new construction. You think they would have been like, all right, guys, let's exhale and settle down and get to work. They did that. And then in the meantime, they scooped up the legendary Ford truck dealership in New Orleans for over 80 years. Trucks for you, commercial vehicles, vans, trucks of all kinds. I'm talking about Crescent City Ford on Jefferson Highway. They used to be by the Lowe's at the Parish Line decades ago. Then they moved to their new location down by the Curve in Harahan. Jefferson Highway at Horde, right by Power, right off River Road in Elmwood. Yeah, it's now Lamarck Crescent City Ford, the legendary truck dealership. No, Ronnie Lamarck and his son Ronnie Jr. do not stop. Every day, this program on radio, TV, YouTube, live streaming, CoreyTalks.com, brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex, and now Lamarck Crescent City Ford. Sunny and cool, lots of 50s all week long. Oliver Thomas joins us on the program tomorrow. 3 U.S. soldiers killed at a U.S. base, a drone attack in Jordan. Apparently, the U.S. thought it was a U.S. drone. It was an Iranian-built drone. Iran denies any involvement. This is an outpost, in a precarious spot right on the Jordan, Syria, Iraq border, all 3 countries. Sergeant Jerome Rivers, 46, Kennedy Landers, 24, Breonna Moffett, 23, all dead, 34 injured. The U.S. says we will retaliate on our time, when and where we feel necessary. Iran could be one of the targets. A lot of hardcore right-wingers in Congress on Twitter, social media, attack Iran, bomb Tehran. Go after Iran. We'll see what President Biden and the United States does as far as retaliation. I saw something posted on Twitter earlier, lots of aircraft in the air over Syria, but who knows what that means, especially on social media. Could be true. Could be entirely not true. Super Bowl 58, 1 week from this Sunday, San Fran, Kansas City, Detroit. That was sickening. That was diabolical. what was it, 24-7 at the half. And then San Fran, the third quarter was 110% San Fran, 0% Detroit. Like I was out there playing. It was sickening. I remember Detroit late making like a late touchdown. Like on that play, it was almost an interception where the receiver bobbled the ball. The San Fran DB had the ball for a second. The receiver pulled it away. I'm like, nothing going right for Detroit. Dan Campbell going for it on fourth instead of kicking a tying field goal, backfiring, on and on and on. Poor Detroit. No, I felt for Detroit. So did my mommy. I watched with my mommy. San Fran, Kansas City, a week from Sunday. About what? A year and 2 weeks till the Super Bowl's here. February 9th, 2025, and it ain't no jive. New Orleans getting the 59th Super Bowl, 8th in the Dome, 11th for the city of New Orleans. Yeah, you right. Hey, Latrim, the global manufacturing giant, is hiring. Go to latrim.com for a full listing of positions available. It's not 2 or 3 job openings either. It's dozens and dozens and dozens of job openings. A job for you, a career for you at Latrim. A culture of innovation at Latrim. They're looking for you for a full listing of positions available. Go to latrim.com. Latrim spelled L-A-I. T-R-A-M, latrim.com. Global manufacturing giant, one of the few in the metro. Times-Picayune article on the Fairfield shortcomings, Bridge City. No one calls it Fairfield. There's proof positive of its shortcomings. I was on Twitter and I was mentioning how Sean Payton never developed an NFL quarterback anywhere. And I think it was Jeff Duncan replying, the Tulane guy and the other backup. I even forget their names. I was like, point proven. You're proving my point, Jeff. Chase Daniel and the guy from Tulane, journeyman backups. I mean, you would think with Sean Payton, there'd be like a starter or two playing in the NFL at quarterback somewhere. And like 2 or 3 backups. None. No, it's just my point. It's crazy. Like Sean Payton, this offensive guru, a quarterback guru. It's a lot of it's nonsense, And Sean Payton's not getting any younger. All these young, aggressive coaches. These coaches today are like Sean Payton 15 years ago. Does Sean Payton still want to win? Is he still a competitor? Sure. But there are probably a lot more distractions in Sean Payton's life today than there were 15 or 20 years ago, where just football blinders on. Win, 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 win at any cost. Rouse's Markets phone line, 766-9480. 766-9480. No, a lot of these things are just, they're kind of self-fulfilling prophecy type stuff. And Bridge City, no one's calling it Fairfield. So that kind of tells you that it's not going the way it was planned over a decade ago. $1 billion UEP Long Bridge expansion, supposed to be explosive growth. The Times-Picayune had an article on its shortcomings, envisioned 50,000 people living there, another 100,000 working there, a community of residential, civic, commercial, office, educational, and light manufacturing. There's a simple reason none of that's happened. Now, a lot of it you could say, man, it's the New Orleans economy. We're just not growing. It's true. That has something to do with it, no doubt. But the main culprit, just like it is, I mean, I can't use a better example than a big bowl of punch on the table. That's the drink that everyone's going to have at the party. Big punch bowl. John Alario walked in with a big pile of cat poop from a litter box and just poured it in the punch bowl and said, come on, everyone, come have some punch. And no one wanted any of the punch. John Alario is supposed to be a leader, but he doesn't have leadership skills. John Alario is supposed to have foresight because he's a senator, a House rep, doesn't have that. John Alario is like so many of our elected officials, just painfully average. And when do you know what hits the fan? It's like, Aaron Broussard, president of Jefferson Parish. Mama was at the old folks' home. When you going to come get me? Monday, Tuesday, on Friday? She drowned. Just made that story up. False story. Had a mental breakdown, took off the toupee, just went wacko on TV because he was stressed out, and he's a normal dude. He's nothing special. He doesn't have leadership skills. You want to hire people that are intelligent, special. Boy, they show something, not BS artists. Because when what hits the fan, that's when you need them. Ray Nagin in the Hyatt under the cushions of the sofa for 3 days, having a nervous breakdown, has never been the same. Because he's a normal dude and the crap hit the fan and he freaked out. John Alario has no idea about leadership skills or vision, foresight, none of that. So it's $1 billion UEP long bridge expansion. You're renaming Bridge City Fairfield like Industrial Canal, Industrial Waterway, Airline Highway, Airline Drive. You're trying to soften that feel. Bridge City, a little rough. Let's aim at Fairfield, something nice. This new community, we're going to grow it. TPC Golf Course will anchor it, and then we're going to have all kind of, community of residential. 50,000 people living there. Civic, commercial, office, another 100,000 working there. Educational, schools, light manufacturing, because it's a neighborhood. First thing, Laney Schwess walks up. Hey, I got a bunch of land over there. I want to build a racetrack. John Alario is like, great. 40, 50 mil, that's great. First investment in Fairfield. We love it. John, it's a noisy racetrack. They're not 30 minutes from the city like the Superdome or Quarter. They're 45 minutes or an hour outside the city. They're not in the suburbs. They're in the exurbs. They're way out, usually with nothing around it because it's a noisy racetrack, like a buffer zone. 10, 15 minutes down Highway 90, you got that deviant Fred Hebe and his deviant uncle Butch Ward and their trash dump, River Birch. You got the Jefferson Parish dump right next door. Some land right around there. I mean, those dumps are like a perfect buffer zone. Like nothing's going to be there. They're dumps. Put some trees around them. No one will even know they're there. Racetracks there. Not a lot of residential or business will ever be there. It works out perfectly. Just a little bit of foresight. Hey, Laney, I'm not telling you to move to another state. 10 minutes down 90. 10 minutes down the road. Let's go down here and find you some land and build that track. Instead, Alario's like, green light, right in the middle of the Fairfield community. Yeah, that's perfect. Who did John Alario consult? Nobody. He just, someone's going to invest. I don't care if it's a track. I don't care if it's an ice cream play. Let's go, 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 go. So much for a community of residential, civic, commercial, office, education, and light manufacturing when you have a loud, noisy racetrack right there. That's all you hear. Ask people that live out near there. That's all you hear 7 days a week. The point is, no one wants to live or work near a noisy car racetrack that doesn't stop. Morning, midday, into the evening, noisy and loud. Doesn't stop. No one wants to live near that. No, that's just John Alario, an adult man. 45 years an elected official, obviously more concerned about setting up his friends and family. One son's like on his 5th or 6th state commission. Another son's a riverboat pilot. It's like the Heitmeyer brothers. I think 6% of all riverboat pilots are Heitmeyers. It's like 6 or 7 Heitmeyers are riverboat pilots, earning $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year. And the delusional ones think there's something special, like, yeah, that mighty Mississippi's rough, takes a special person to be a pilot. No, the opposite. Anyone can be trained that isn't a complete idiot, and almost some complete idiots, because there's some riverboat pilots like John Hilario's son and people you know that you don't like. You're a riverboat pilot. There are people that pilot ships like you that you don't like, that are lazy, that are bums, that are politically connected, that don't work. And they're riverboat pilots. Now, I know you want me to think it's a treacherous river, takes a special person. Like, it was this close. I was almost going to be an F-16 fighter pilot. No, you weren't. You weren't about to be a Navy SEAL or any of that. Riverboat pilot, anybody can do it. Proof's in the pudding. I've seen the riverboat pilots. A lot of them are just dopey, fat, out of shape, no bodies, just yaddy New Orleanians, no different from you or me. Anyone can be a riverboat pilot. Requires no special talent or God-given skill. Anyone can be trained to be a riverboat pilot. No, but it's obnoxious. 500, 600, 700 grand a year. And Hilario's son's one because of special skills, or daddy hooked him up. Heitmeyer, 6, 7 Heitmeyers because of daddy's special skill, the Heitmeyer brothers, or because the Heitmeyer brothers hooked him up. Just ridiculous. So no, John Hilario's always been about that. He's not anyone special. It's the opposite. He's painfully average. So when this opportunity arises, we get this $1 billion UEP Long Bridge, which, by the way, was completed about 10 years ago. When I was at LSU about 35 years ago, I'm not kidding you, more than that, almost 40 years ago, it was like 1988, legislative session, Buddy Roemer, the timed project, transportation, infrastructure, marine, something timed. It was about 8 projects. The UEP Long Bridge expansion was one of them. That was voted on in 88. It got finished, in like 08, 012, like 20, 25 years later. All the while, John Hilario's a rep, an elected official. Then this Fairfield thing comes along. This is like once in a lifetime. This is smart thinking. Got a new bridge. It's going to open up. I mean, you're in Elmwood. It's like you're in Manhattan. You're in the French Quarter. It's jam-packed. It's crowded. It's 1,000 businesses in Elmwood, in that area. Hundreds of businesses. That Elmwood and Clearview, corridor. Then you cross over the UEP Long Bridge and you're like in the country. You can fire a shotgun, it's just like crazy. No development. That bridge has been open over a decade. No development. Nothing. Because of the racetrack. Because John Hilario simply lacks vision and isn't a leader. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. We had this great opportunity, billions of dollars in investment on the line. And Hilario screws the pooch by allowing Laney Schwest to build this track there instead of just 10 miles down the road. You'd have the track. You still would have Fairfield. Fairfield's ruined. The only way Fairfield could possibly happen, shut down the track. I think Laney Schwest invested $40 million to open it and has invested tens of millions since then, always putting money in the track. The track's going nowhere, and neither is Fairfield. Nowhere. Bridge City, nowhere. Thank John Hilario, because he's like kindergarten student, just couldn't see that. Couldn't see it. How do you not see that? How do you not think that a noisy racetrack isn't going to be good for a community you're trying to build with 50,000 people living there and 100,000 people working there? Just sad. Anyway, Times-Picayune, the racetrack. Why don't you put that in the article? Why there's no growth at Fairfield. The racetrack. You missed the number one thing, It's like you got punched in the face and I knocked out a tooth, and you're talking about the ham sandwich you had at lunch. That's the thing that stood out in your day. Now, I knocked out a molar. I punched you right in the face. Knocked out a tooth. I think that was the highlight, low light, the number one thing you did. Not that ham sandwich you had. No, John Hilario just misses this major thing right in front of them. Hey, Young's Dry Cleaning since 1940. You tired of your dry cleaner? Want to experience the best in the business? It's easy. youngsdrycleaning.com. Walk-up locations, free pickup and delivery, manless locker locations all over the city and beyond. Since 1940, 84 years of excellence. youngsdrycleaning.com.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes are magazine, as unique as you.
In New Orleans, we don't eat to live, we live to eat.
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. More is better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Not just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love. More. When you do something, you have to do it right. You know, it's all about more, and it's all more of the good things.
Get more at Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore led us to you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof, now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NOLAAC.com, your cool spot.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria. Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the River, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans' grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
I went there yesterday with my mom and brother, Lebanon's Cafe, Carrollton at Jeanette, right by the streetcar barn. Lunch at Lebanon's. My mom got lamb chops. She really enjoyed the lamb chops. I got chicken shawarma. My brother got chicken shish kebab. I had a fried kibbe, some tabbouleh, that wonderful hot pita bread, some of the best Middle Eastern food in Metro New Orleans, Lebanon's Cafe, Carrollton at Jeanette in Uptown. 11 a.m. to 9:30, open throughout the day, 7 days a week. 11 a.m. to 9:30, outdoor dining, Lebanon's Cafe. You won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed in our next guest. He's been with the Associated Press for over 25 years. Brett Martell joins us. Another Martell Monday. What's happening, Brett?
Well, I'm in the mood for falafel now. After here,
I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah,
Lebanon's Cafe.
right. I heard the previous spot. That's what made me want falafel.
Bring your wife
I've had
and
that.
your daughter. Everyone loves Lebanon's Cafe.
Right.
I hear a future commercial. Brett Martell of the Associated Press for Lebanon's Cafe. I like the falafel.
With hummus.
Yep. There you go. Joe, edit that. See, we treat you a lot better. We had Fletcher Mackel on last week, and he's like, I just saw Margaret Orr. She was doing the weather. I just saw her doing it. And I just said, Joe, edit out Fletcher saying I just saw Margaret Orr doing it, and we're going to use that out of context. So for Brett, it's just like, I like the falafel. That's a lot better than I saw Margaret Orr doing it.
So what are we talking about?
Listen, old married Brett, moving on real quickly. Hear that, Joe? Old married Brett. Let's move on quickly now. Wow. I think I had on, I forgot who it was. I think I had Mike Triplett on. His wife works at a Chick-fil-A, and I didn't know. And it happened to be the day Chick-fil-A was doing something like no gay people in the drive-thru or something. I don't know what they were doing. And Triplett was like, dude, afterwards, he's like, you bashing Chick-fil-A? My wife works there. I'm like, did not know. He said, I said it on the air. I'm like, dude, I did not hear you. Or, he was all upset. Anyway, Brett, we're going to move on. Make sure you don't go in that doghouse building, back of your house, that cinder block building you lived in for that month, that time. We don't want that happening again.
Indeed not.
Oh, boy. Hey, Brett, real quick, how can folks check out your stuff via the AP?
Sure. The AP News app on a smartphone is free. It gives you news from all over the world. Sports, news, business, celebrity, all entertainment, all that stuff. And it's great. It's a great way to get it. Or apnews.com on a laptop.
Hey, I know you're watching, and I know you keep up, and you're a fan and all that. Anything you're doing professionally with NFL playoffs right now, considering, the area you cover is not in the playoffs or not in the Super Bowl now? It's down to 2.
Yeah, I'm just kind of helping out with a feature story we're working on that's supposed to come out. I'm not the main writer on it. One of my colleagues is. It's supposed to come out in the next, but maybe by this weekend. And it's just kind of taking a look at the officiating in the league and how it's changed or not changed, or maybe not changed enough since the no call at the end of the 2018-19 season.
Are NFL referees still part-time?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the problem right there. I mean, are NBA referees and Major League Baseball umpires part-time, or that's their full-time gig year-round?
Their full-time gig year-round, and when it's not the season,
they're practicing.
They're practicing. They're doing courses, reviewing they're reviewing their full body of work from the previous season, and trying to figure out how to get better.
Yeah, the NFL's on crack. I mean, to have these men as part-timers. You know what I think is a major mistake, Brett, is I get it. Each position on the field, I don't know how many refs there are in an NFL game, 9, 11. I have no clue. Do you know?
9, I think.
Okay. Each have a different position. They're all graded. At the end of the year, the best at their position go to the NFC, AFC title game in the Super Bowl. Like Vinovich is going to do the Super Bowl, the NOLA no-call guy.
Right.
I think the problem with that is, Brett, whoever wins the Super Bowl, the very next day, you could have the other 31 teams have all their all-stars form a team, and I think the Super Bowl defending champ the next day will win that game because they're a team. And the group of all-stars never have played as a team for a minute. So I think, now if they played for a year or two, they'd demolish the Super Bowl champs, Brett. It's the other 31 NFL teams' best players. I think just putting the all-stars together, saying, you're playing the Super Bowl champs tomorrow, I think they would lose. And I think that's the flaw with the NFL. You have these teams of referees. They know strengths and weaknesses. You're grading everybody. Award the best teams the AFC, NFC Super Bowl games. Don't award the best positions and then make a team of guys that have never played together. And I'm talking about referees. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And it's actually exactly what Sean Payton said, in a conversation I had with him after he had retired. He said that he, upon several years of reflection, believes that the reason that the officials got the NOLA no call wrong was because they hadn't worked together.
Yep. Group of all-stars instead of a team.
Right. And both guys thought they might have seen something. One guy reached for his flag, one guy waved him off. And Sean thinks if those guys had worked together,
they would have called
the guy that was reaching for his flag would have been more comfortable telling the guy who waved him off, no, I really saw something. I think we have to throw the flag here.
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, but instead he just kept it in his pocket and deferred to a guy he didn't know because in that moment it felt awkward to overrule him when he seemed so certain.
Yep.
And they didn't know each other that well.
At the very least, the two would have huddled together and they would have made the call.
Right. And believe me, I think I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's smart of officiating teams to do this, honestly, to huddle together and pretend they're discussing it and out of the corner of their eye, wait for the replay on the big screen.
Yep.
And see if it confirms what they're discussing.
No,
and
exactly.
And then the head referee comes out and says, makes it sound like they came to an agreement as in their discussion, says what the call is.
Not to belabor that bad call.
Doing that at all.
Not to belabor the bad call, but when you can hear the pop of the shoulder pads before the ball arrives, that was pretty telling. The audio part. Yeah, Brett. So not full-time refs. The all-star team of referees for the biggest games. Those are major mistakes. With all that said, and not trying to spoil your article, I think referees in the NFL, all pro sports, do an absolutely incredible job. I think they get about 999 out of 1,000 calls right, but the ones they miss are usually insignificant. The ones they miss that aren't insignificant get a huge spotlight and are glaring, like the NOLA no call.
Yeah.
Am I right, or your article will prove me wrong, maybe?
Well, it's just that this year, the problem is, though, that you just don't want to have a bunch of these high-profile mistakes where people are like, even with replay, why are we having these calls at the end of the Lions-Dallas game or whatever other game you want to talk about, where people just it distracts, like the game story becomes about the call.
Yep.
And they were in the headlines a bunch of times this year, and so people are thinking,
it's a fix. They want teams to win, conspiracy, all that crap.
Yeah, and people are just thinking, do we need to? I mean, people who are observing the league, just even rationally, are thinking, do we need to revisit this whole, how we pick the referees and how they're trained and whether they're full time or part time or not? Do we need to revisit all these things with them showing up in the headlines so often for controversial calls that are deciding some of these games? The fact of the matter is that during the regular season, coaches spend how they are, like they sleep at the facility sometimes. We're talking about 60 to 80 hours a week getting ready for a game. Players, 40 to 60 hours a week getting ready for a game. Officials, maybe 10 at the most, probably less. Right? And those are the groups that decide the game.
No, you're right, Brett. You're right. Brett Martell is with us on a Monday. That'll be an article he's helping write. That'll be coming out later this week from the Associated Press. Hey, every day we broadcast live from the Buddy Diliberto River Cities Total Maintenance Studios. River Cities Total Maintenance, your ace in the hole when it comes to air conditioning and heat. All you need to know is NOLAAC.com. That's all you need to remember, NOLAAC.com. Because when you know that, you know it's honest, fair and honest, Lucas and the boys. You know they're AC and heating experts, and you know they're going to come immediately. NOLAAC.com. If you ever need air conditioning or heat help, NOLAAC.com. Every day we broadcast live from the Buddy Diliberto River Cities Total Maintenance Studios. Heartbreaker for Detroit, Brett. That was that third quarter was hard to watch unless you're just a San Francisco fan. I think Detroit had a lot of folks on that bandwagon because of their ineptness for decades, and so close. 24-7 at the half. I guess I've seen a third quarter go one way for one team and horribly wrong for another team. I'm a Saints fan growing up, but my God, that was brutal. That was like 35-7 Monday Night Football against the Raiders, and then it's 42-35. Saints lose at the end. How Detroit lost that game, just sickening.
Yeah, it's tough because Detroit was a universally relatable feel-good story of the year in the NFL, probably. And yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of interest in them and a lot of people, just enjoying the novelty of seeing them have that much success and curious to see what it would be like for Detroit and their fans to get to a Super Bowl. Just like people were kind of fascinated by the Saints being in the Super Bowl in the 2009-2010 season, And, obviously the Saints have the additional layer of the story, which was, just 4 years after Hurricane Katrina, which for a storm that big, still right in the midst of the recovery back then for us. Detroit's a little bit different in that regard, but still, playoff success being so rare for them, it was cool. And I think that, they allowed everyone following them and rooting for them and including themselves to start to be able to taste that Super Bowl berth, and then it was like a slow motion train wreck in a way, and it's taken away from them. I don't know what to say about it other than that, maybe it was too conservative, too risky play calling.
Yeah.
What is it,
I don't second guess. It's just tragic. Purdy's a great story. Just young pup coming out of nowhere, takes over the starting role and got this team in a Super Bowl. It's just incredible. And McCaffrey just continues to be a dominant running back. Kansas City, Baltimore to me, their body of work, balance, offense, defense, Lamar Jackson, and it's still Kansas City and Pat Mahomes. Brett, it's easy to say no one, Brady's the GOAT and he'll never be topped. I don't know. Pat Mahomes keeps up this torrid pace, he's going to pass up Tom Brady as the GOAT.
It looks like he's on track to do that.
It's ridiculous, man. He's already in the Hall of Fame. He could have quit a year or two ago, retired from the NFL, and he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I've never seen anything like Pat Mahomes. That much winning, that much greatness, that quickly.
And also just the style with which he creates highlights. The ad-libbing and the phenomenal athletic ability with the sidearm throws, the underhanded throws, or the throws in the run, or just the scrambling. He's one of the most exciting.
No, and then he stands tall in the pocket and flings it 40 yards to the sideline.
Yeah.
Like he's Dan Marino. Can't move.
Yep.
But he can move. It just, I don't know. What can't Pat Mahomes do?
Not much,
And I watched him pitching for Team USA or something. He had like a Marine haircut, just flinging the ball. He'd be a major league pitcher today if he wasn't playing in the NFL. It's just,
right.
It's ridiculous. Hey, Brett, any final thoughts? Blue Boy's barking. I guess Brett has no final thoughts.
No, I'm here.
What's that?
No, just it's going to be a really interesting Super Bowl.
Yep. Hey, Brett,
And maybe
we'll
the
check.
reason it's taking so long for the States to get an OC is because they want one from the Niners.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 6 p.m.